Hey YouTube, it's your girl Dr. J, and I have been asked about how I do the planning for my kids for our homeschool day. So, I mentioned before that one of the things I do is I try to plan for the week as opposed for the day. So, each child has this sheet that I list all the things that we would probably do for the week and how many times I would like us to hit that topic or that actual activity. And that's the first thing. So we look at what do we want to do for the week, how many times do we want to hit it. The next thing I do is I look at what are the activities that need my one-on-one help, where I need to be sitting down with that particular child, giving them my undivided attention, and what sort of things are they able to do a little more independently. And so I track that because I want to make sure I balance, okay, if I need to be working with this child for an hour one-on-one throughout the day, I need to make sure that the other two kids have at least an hour of independent activity to do. So that's another thing that I do in my planning. There is one thing that really works for us is that my kids are really good. They work really well together. They have really good executive function. So I really am able to get a lot done because I don't have to, supervise every single part of their day. Take my twins, for instance. Both of them are learning violin and piano. But my daughter has been playing the violin for a year longer than my son. And my son has been playing the piano a year longer than my daughter. And so when my daughter is practicing piano, there are times when her twin will actually supervise her practice because he can give her a lot of feedback because he's already learned the songs that she's learning. My daughter can supervise my son when he's practicing the violin because she's already learned those songs. And so she can give him feedback, she can let me know how he's doing. My oldest is further along in violin than the both of the twins. So again, he can step in and supervise practice. They don't do that all the time, but if I need a little bit more time with one, that's a setup that we can have. My oldest, he's also able to do that with math for the twins, and one of my twins is further along in math than the other. So whoever is further along in an activity, sometimes they would like to sit down and work with their sibling on it or supervise an activity for their sibling or check over their work. So that's another thing that I'm able to do. That really helps with planning. Another thing that I do is when we choose a topic, like I do plan brainstorming on paper, just like this. For instance, this paper is about time. My daughter wanted to do a unit on time. And so I sat in the bed one night and I brainstormed what's all the things that we can do in relation to time. So I thought one of the things that I wrote down is we can make a clock. Well, I have the materials that we would need to make a clock using paper plates. I have some wood clocks that we are going to build. I have the materials that we need to make a sand timer. I have materials that we need to test out a water drip clock for kind of like a stopwatch. So I have all that stuff. So I can think about, okay, this would be a good, day to do this activity because we're going to have a little bit more time. We're going to be home a little bit more. So this is something that we can do. So that's another way that I plan. I think about how is our day going to go? How is our life going to be structured? For instance, when it comes to things like the workbooks, like I showed you guys the Sylvan Learning workbooks, those travel great. I just tear the pages out and we can take pages with math and language arts. Well, on the days that the kids do vision therapy, all three do vision therapy. Vision therapy is 30 minutes per child. So that means each child has an hour where they really are going to be stuck sitting. Sometimes they play together. Sometimes I'll read to them or they'll read books. Sometimes they'll play games on the Kindle. But we also always have those workbook pages. So, there's some downtime. You can check off, language arts and math for that day. You might get 2 or 3 days of language arts done in that 1 hour. So we always make sure that we travel with those sort of things because we use time as wisely as possible. The other thing that you guys saw is that I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of ways to tackle a topic. For instance, if, we're doing multiplication. Yep, we could do workbook pages, but you know what? If we're going to be in the car for a half an hour that day, we're going to take Schoolhouse Rock with us. And they can watch the various segments of Schoolhouse Rock that deal with multiplication. We did multiplication that day. They learned from it. They had fun with it. We did the topic. So we accomplished it and it fit into our day. So I'm all about trying to have things fit into our lifestyle as much as possible. So I don't so much think about the things that we have to do. I think about the concepts that we're trying to learn. And then I look at how busy are we going to be that week and what can we do to bring those concepts, to tackle those concepts in a way that's going to fit into our lifestyle. So if the kids are going to be really busy, if they're preparing for a dance recital or a music recital, or if they're preparing for a track meet, well, that means that we're going to be really busy. They're going to be much more tired. We're going to be out of the house a lot. So I plan the activities that we're going to do accordingly. We still hit the ideas. We still hit the learning concepts, but we just do it in a way where it's not going to feel like a burden and a lot of pressure. So that's another thing that I do with our planning. Also, if I need a bit more time, maybe they finished projects a little bit earlier than I thought, then I resort to bribery. Yes. And that is where I will come up with a challenge for them to complete. It may be a logic game that I come up with, or it may be a math problem, or it may be, writing a book or something like that. And then they get to win, or they get to collect tickets. And so I have these tickets, 25 cents. We have 50 cents and $1 as well as star tickets. So if they collect so many star tickets, those are for, smaller type things that they do. Then once they collect so many, they get to go to a treasure box that I have and pick out a prize. And then the money-based tickets, what happens is they get to turn those in for real money when we go on vacation. So that's the spending money that they earn for vacation. So you don't get tickets for the things that you just have to do, that you have to know to function in life. So you don't get tickets for math or reading or language arts. You just need those to be a functioning member of society. Just like I don't get rewarded, like I don't get paid because I cook or do laundry. I just have to do that to function in society. But when I do other things, I pay myself, when I do something great, I work for money. So when they are doing something to help me out, or when they're doing something that's above and beyond what we wanted to accomplish, then they'll get those tickets. Ironically, they forget about the tickets a lot, so they will collect the tickets, and then they'll never ask for a prize. They forget that was going to be their spending money, so they're not so much motivated by the tickets. They have a lot of intrinsic motivation, but sometimes you just need a little bit of extra. Mommy didn't budget this day too well, so can you help me out a little bit? So we do that. Another thing that we do that makes my homeschool planning work very well is that we will dump things that don't work well for us. So if we buy something and the kids hate it, or I hate it, or the instructions aren't clear, or we really don't like the way that they're teaching the concept, we won't complete it. I don't punish myself with forcing myself to finish a book I don't like. I don't make them do that either. We can do that because we tackle concepts in so many different ways that if we dump one thing, we still dealt with that concept 3 or 4 other ways. So it's not like if we throw out one thing, they're not going to learn it. We just try to make sure that we really look at things that go with their learning styles, go with our lifestyle, and go with the things that we wanted to learn. I also bring in bridging activities as much as possible, kind of going back to the time thing that I was going to do. One of the things that we wanted to hit was time zones. So we're also going to be doing a really, really big unit on geography this year. So what that is allowing me to do is, okay, when we're doing geography, we can talk about time zones in terms of geography. So we are hitting our time unit as well as our geography unit at the same time. So, we'll get credit. They'll get credit for both of those things because life is not just siloed. Life ebbs and flows together quite often. So that's one way that we get a lot accomplished, and we know what we're doing because we don't necessarily have to isolate every single thing that we do. For instance, if you're doing Singapore math challenging word problems, well, there may be a lot of writing that's associated with answering a word problem. So not only did you do math, you also got credit for doing writing because we combined them both and you did them both and you did well. So hey, you killed two birds in one stone. It's all about that. I try to make sure that my day is budgeted in a way that not only do I have one-on-one time to work with each of the kids, but I plan activities so that I can hear what's going on, even if somebody is working on something that they don't need me sitting down with them. For instance, my oldest, he is pretty independent when it comes to math, but I still like to be near when he's doing his math work. The reason is because I want to know what concepts he's learning so that I can build our additional supplemental activities around the concepts that he's learning at the moment. I want to hear how long it's taking him to answer a question, because if he's taking a long time to answer a question, even if he got it right, I know, okay, I may need to hit that a little bit more. If he gets an answer wrong on the first try, but gets it right on the second try, again, that's something where we may not need intensive one-on-one training in that, but I may need to come up with a game that's going to solidify that concept with him, or pull out some workbook pages in another type of curriculum that's going to hit that concept in a different way so that he can really learn it fully. And if he's struggling with something, I want to be there so that I can go to him and say, hey, this may be another way to answer the problem. For instance, he does extremely well in the program. He, is doing extremely well. But sometimes the way he goes about getting the answer isn't the most efficient way. So I let him finish his time on the program, but then I'll go back and I'll say, hey, this is how you answer this question. Let me show you a couple other ways that you can answer the question that may be more efficient for you. If he still wants to do it his way, that's fine. But I want to make sure that I'm there and I'm hearing what's going on so that I have an opportunity to go in and help him when necessary. The same with the twins. They're younger, they can do some things more independently, but I like to be there and be around and be close so I can see how they're going about problem solving, how they're going about getting their answers. This is another big thing with dyslexia, because dyslexics sometimes can get the answer but have no idea how they got it. And so we go back and deal a lot with how did you come up with that answer, to make sure that you are using the most efficient pathways to answers as possible, and that more than one way to get to answer a question. Another thing that really works for us, something that I have just learned to appreciate and embrace as much as possible, is my kids are very early risers. They get up about 6:30 in the morning. So by noon, we're pretty much finished with our school day. So sometimes even before noon, we're pretty much finished with the school day. So we have the afternoons to go on play dates, do field trips. I push things like their vision therapy, all of their instrument practice, all the things that they need to do outside of the house. I push that to the afternoon so that our actual school day, we can be pretty consistent in our school day planning. So that really helps a lot. And some people say you shouldn't let your kids get up there early. Well, you can't really control the body, and in some aspects. And I'm an early riser too, so they inherited it. Also, we found out that if we keep them up later at night, it just makes them get up at 6:30 cranky and tired, as opposed to getting up at 6:30 refreshed and renewed. So we just embrace the early start time and use it to our advantage. So I hope that helps. And people kind of seeing how we plan our day, how I incorporate things. I incorporate things based on kind of, what are the things that we want to tackle and how many different ways can I tackle it. So, until we kind of reach the point where we have mastery or they're just annoyed by it. I look at how they're doing in their base programs to determine what supplemental activities I pull in. So I don't sit down, in August and say, this is the workbook page that you are going to do in November, because I don't know what workbook page they're going to be doing. For instance, my daughter, she was in kindergarten last year, but in her math program, she completed kindergarten and first grade math, and then she went into second grade math. So if I had sat down and said, okay, it's January, in February you're going to be doing the 4th chapter of this kindergarten workbook, that wouldn't have fit, because she finished kindergarten math, including understanding the concepts, in a few weeks, and then tackled first grade math and was done with it. So I have to make sure that I'm being flexible so that I can flow with them and their needs. Sometimes a child can struggle in an area, and it's an area that you didn't anticipate that they were going to struggle in. So, you might think, okay, we're already going to be done with, long division in a couple weeks, but wait a minute, they're struggling with it. So we may have to spend a couple weeks on something that normally you would think would take a couple days. So that's really how I tackle planning. I plan by the week. I balance what are the things that they need one-on-one attention, what can they do independently, what are things that they can work on as a group and help each other with. I plan based on where they are, what they're getting smoothly versus what they need a little bit more supplementation with, and what's going on in our life. The more laid back our days, the more intensive our schoolwork tends to be, the more intensive some of the other stuff we have that's going on. A little more, we tend to tackle concepts in a more laid back way. So I hope that helps. This is Dr. J at DAJedu, and I'm out. Thanks.